Chapter 26. August 2nd. Good morning, Corlin. How are you this fine and lovely morning? I could tell she was a little taken back by my bright and cheery disposition, especially considering my demeanor the last time she saw me. I am fine, my friend. I'm happy to see you in such good spirits today. The last time we spoke, you were certainly not this cheery. I know. Last night, after I read Crelon's letter to me, I was very upset. His letter was beautiful, and it really reaffirmed just how special he was. In fact, is Lorana available? Corlin's face faded, and Lorana's face came into the screen. Yes, I am, Terry. I figured you would want to talk some more this morning, so I asked Corlin if I could be here when you awoke. Good. I'm glad you are here. My sisters, I would like to read the letter to me from Crelon. Would that be all right? If that is something you would like to share, then I would certainly like to know what he had to say to you, replied Lorana. Corlin agrees. I got out the parchment his letter was written on and read it to the two of them. Looking up at them now, I could see that half the screen was Lorana and the other half was Corlin. After reading his letter to me, I was considerably distraught. But the more I thought about it, I came to grips with the fact that, while he isn't here, he will always live in my heart. I know if he were here, I would be the one and only special person who would make his life whole, and for that I'm grateful. Even though the life we would have had was stolen from us without us even knowing it was taken, I can feel his love for me by the words he wrote. In an odd way, I have come to a sort of peaceful coexistence with my life and my love for him. Will I ever meet someone else and enter into a union with that one? I can't really say. If I were forced to make a decision right now, then my answer would be no. Then again, after spending so much time with him vicariously through his recordings and personal logs, coupled with the way I know I would want things if the circumstances were reversed, I can say for sure he wouldn't want me to remain unhappy and lonely for the rest of my life. Ultimately, all I can say for sure right now is that I can't say anything for sure. Regarding my future, I don't know what I don't know. I'll just have to wait and see. That makes complete sense, Terry, said Lorana. I agree with Lorana, added Corlin. In the short time I have known you, I have seen you grow from a timid person working in the dark recesses of the museum archive to a commanding woman of power who realizes her own future is there for the taking. I'm proud of you for all you have done and the conclusions you have come to. Don't get used to it, Corlin. I may be acting decisively now, but I am also realistic enough to know there will be times I'll rely on you to prop me up when I'm feeling the sting of being lonely without the arms of my Crelon. I could see Lorana smile at my use of the term, my Crelon. That would only be normal, my friend. But for now, again, I say I am proud of you. After a few more moments, Lorana said, I'm going to leave you to your research. If there's anything else you need from me, Terry, please call on me. Also, please don't forget to say goodbye before you leave the island, okay? Without question, I will say goodbye before I leave. Thank you, my friend, for all you have done. I will never forget you. Neither will I, Terry. Neither will I. August 3rd. I was lying in bed, or rather lying in couch if you want to split hairs, when I heard it for the first time. I was sleeping so soundly I didn't really register what I was hearing. It was early morning when the light of the sky was about to change into the baby blue hues that herald a clear and beautiful day. Beep. If I were a computer, I would say I wasn't fully booted yet. My thinking ability wasn't completely up and running. I heard it, yet I simply thought, boy, I hope I don't hear that again. I'm so comfortable, and beep. I just wish it would stop. I want to go back to that dream I was having of Creelon and me, walking along the beach, feeling the sand between our toes. He was holding my hand, and it felt so solid, so warm, so comforting. I felt so safe and secure. His voice was soothing and pleasurable when he told me he loved me, and now that we'd completed our ceremony of union, he wanted to beep. Damn it! What is that noise? I said to myself. I took a deep breath, taking care not to move any part of my body that wasn't absolutely necessary. I just wanted to sleep, and was downright angry at being awakened from my deep slumber. I was so mad to hear the same stupid beeping I heard in the archive when I found the... I shot up from the couch. Oh my God! The amulet! Corlin! I fumbled around in the dark until I found a light and was able to see where I laid the amulet. I quickly stumbled to the desk so I could place it in the cradle. Within 10 seconds, Corlin's face came onto the screen. Corlin, are you sending that signal to me? Corlin gave me a look I felt more than I saw. By this time, I was able to read her like a book, and even though she had a smile on her face, it depicted a deep sense of worry I had never seen before. My friend, what's wrong? I asked more insistently. Thank you for waking up so early in your day for me. I'm sorry to have awakened you. That's okay, my friend. What's going on? Do you remember me telling you why I caused the beeping originally? Yes, I do. You said that while you hadn't been able to be in communication with the rest of your siblings until you got near to the island, you also said something on the island sent out a planet-wide signal, causing you to send that beeping. That is correct. To be honest, I hadn't thought about it since then. By the time we arrived at the island, I was more interested in guiding you with your learning about the Galimarian people than thinking about the original reason why that signal was sent. What does that have to do with it now? I have just received this same signal again, and it came with a warning that it is most urgent I respond. What do you need me to do? According to the information that came with the signal, we need to go to the GSC and visit the tectonic stabilization machine. What is the GSC? I'm sorry to do this, Terry, but can you get ready to take a trip there? I'll explain along the way. No problem, Corlin. Give me about 10 minutes to get myself together. Very good. I will order a transport to meet you out front. Before I knew it, I was sitting in the car being taken along for a ride while talking with Corlin. I told her I recognized the word tectonic. It had something to do with the Earth's crust and the plates of land on its surface. She confirmed my understanding and said the TSM was one of the few devices which had its very own companion. That companion was responsible for sending the planet-wide signal to all amulets back in the early 1900s. We finally reached the building Corlin referred to as the GSC, or the Geologic Services Center. Unlike the earlier skyscraper I had been in, this building was much shorter, around 5 stories tall. I commented on the difference, and she assured me this building was just as impressive as the other. This particular building has most of its operations, dozens of floors, all below ground. Thinking about it, it makes sense that this building, which supports something having to do with tectonics, would be oriented down and not up. I wondered how that reconciles with this being a floating island on the sea, but before I had the chance to ask, the front door to the building opened, and I was greeted with what looked to be the state-of-the-art establishment. Corlin had arranged to have a series of screens on the wall show guides, directing me to the place where the machine was, so I followed all of her promptings. I went on an elevator about 300 stories below the surface of the island. Exiting from the elevator, I stepped into a large chamber containing what appeared to be a very huge, very complicated machine in the middle of the room. It was easily 15 meters tall, and there were pipes, tubes, and cables of all kinds leading to and from it. It was making a rather loud noise that sounded like an alarm. To the side, I saw what looked like a control station, and, as I approached it, I noticed the customary amulet cradle situated above the screen. After inserting Corlin into the cradle, I was once again shown her face. "Okay, I'm here. What now?" "One moment, Terry. I'm summoning the sister in charge." "Ah, here she is." Corlin and a new face were now displayed on the screen. Corlin was the first to speak. "Kalius?" "Yes, Corlin, I'm here." "We received your signal. What's going on?" "First things first, who am I speaking to outside?" asked Kalius. "Oh, forgive me. This is Terry. She is my companion." "Hello, Terry. My name is Kalius. I am the administrator of the TSM. "I am pleased to meet you, Kalius." "Why did it take so long for someone to respond? I've been sending multiple signals for years." "You mean—" Corlin paused. "I forgot you're not connected to the rest of our siblings on the island, are you?" "No, that's part of the global security system. I'm to remain isolated from all others so as to stay focused on the task at hand." "Then you don't know what happened, do you?" "To the population of New Galimar?" asked Corlin. "No. What happened?" Corlin then gave Kalius a complete dissertation on the events of 700 years ago. She told about the plague and how it had killed every man, woman, and child on the island. She described how she received the original signal 100 years ago, but it wasn't until a couple of months ago that I found the amulet, put it on, and we began our odyssey. "You mean Terry isn't Galimarian?" asked Kalius. I opened my mouth to answer, but Corlin cut me off, interjecting, "She is as Galimarian as is necessary. I will fill you in with more detail later, but suffice to say, she is just as Galimarian as you, me, or any other inhabitant who ever lived on the island. I trust her with my very existence, and I can't imagine ever being a companion to anyone else." Kalius contemplated what Corlin said for a few seconds. "If she's Galimarian in your eyes, then that is good enough for me." "Back to my original question," said Corlin. "What's going on? Your signal carried with it an indication the status is grave." "That would be an understatement. What do you know about the TSM?" "Very little, I must confess," said Corlin. "All I know is it's supposed to stabilize things, but not much more." Let's start with the basics of the science of plate tectonics. There is something called the lithosphere, the rigid outermost shell of land surrounding the entire surface of this planet. It is the crust, the upper mantle of Eden, and it is broken up into smaller sections called tectonic plates. Eden's lithosphere is composed of 8 major plates as well as several minor ones. Where the plates meet, their relative motion determines the type of boundary they have. Some are convergent, which means when they meet, they crunch up against each other, whereas some are divergent, meaning they are moving away from each other. Finally, some are known as transform boundaries. Earthquakes, volcanic activity, mountain building, and oceanic trench formation occur along these plate boundaries. The plates come in a variety of thicknesses. Some are composed of oceanic lithosphere and thicker continental lithosphere. each topped by its own kind of crust. Along convergent boundaries, subduction carries plates into the mantle. The material lost underneath as the plate is subducted is roughly balanced by the formation of new oceanic crust along divergent margins by seafloor spreading. In this way, the total surface of the globe basically remains the same. The main reason for these plates moving as they do is because of the gravitational forces put on the mass of the planet by the Sun and the one orbiting moon. Now, under normal circumstances, the plates making up Eden's lithosphere move and shift in this way, and these movements cause any number of natural seismic events on and in the planet. When we first came here, these seismic events were tearing the planet apart. We could see that if we wanted to make this planet our home, we would need to stabilize the movements of the tectonic plates. So that is why the TSM was built. What you are saying, I interjected, is it was designed to keep the plates from moving? How? Are you familiar with the shield surrounding the island? Asked Callias. Yes. It was built to filter out the UV rays from the local sun. You are correct. That shield uses high-energy magnetics to contain a field of plasma in a very focused shape around the island. Okay, I'm following you so far. The TSM uses the same technology. It was designed to create a spherical shield around the asthenosphere, the layer of magma just beneath the lithosphere of the planet. The goal is to keep the planetary magma from welling up in the divergent zones, mostly found under the ocean floors. With the divergences arrested, there are no more subductions, no more boundary transformations, therefore no more seismic events. As a bonus, the magma eruptions commonly happening on land are also completely quieted. That all makes sense. Sounds like a good system, said Corlin. It is, when it's working, said Callias. It's not working? I asked. No. That's why I sent the signal. The system stopped working about 100 years ago. What happened? Asked Corlin. I'm not completely sure. Something in the control circuitry needs to be fixed, and that will require the TSM engineer. That's a problem, I said. There are no Galimarians left alive who can do it. Are you familiar with the procedures necessary to fix it? Mostly, but that isn't the problem. What is? In order to get to the systems which need to be fixed, the TSM has to be shut down properly, and that requires the handprint of a living Galimarian to do it. Only the living DNA of a Galimarian can access the technology. It's all part of the TID, replied Callias. Okay, another acronym. TID, responded Corlin, stands for Technology Isolation Directive. Remember the story about Traxxas? Yes, that's a planet where they were given technology way before they had the social evolution to handle the responsibility of it. They ended up killing their entire species because the power went to their heads and eventually destroyed their own planet. Correct, said Corlin. Ever since then, any and all Galimarian technology is secured behind the directive from the Grand Council, requiring that access only be granted to one with living Galimarian DNA. There's something I don't get. The planet has been experiencing earthquakes and such for a while now, but I get the impression there's a new development which is really bad. There is, replied Callias. Please direct your attention to the screen behind you. This represents a topological map of Eden. I turned around in my seat, and there was a screen showing all the land masses of Earth. In the area off the coast of Florida, there was a spot representing the location of New Galimar. I saw in the upper Midwest of the United States an irregularly shaped region blinking red. You will notice, continued Callias, there is a region which is highlighted. I recognize that area, I said. It's a region humans have set aside as a natural preserve, never to be developed by civilization. We call it Yellowstone National Park. I have detected that your Yellowstone National Park is about to create an extinction-level event in the form of massive magma diffusion into the atmosphere. You're telling me the Yellowstone volcanoes are about to erupt? Correct. And this isn't your typical eruption. It will be unlike anything you have ever seen. The eruption will be much bigger. How much? Before I answer, please give me an idea of how you measure distances, inquired Callias. Okay. Thinking a little bit, I decided to start with a basic measurement. Holding up my thumb and index finger, I said, the distance between my two fingers here is a centimeter. 100 of these is a meter. 1,000 of those is a kilometer. Does that help? Callias thought for a moment. Are you familiar with the volcano that erupted approximately 35 years ago? 1,326 kilometers to the west of your Yellowstone National Park? I sat for a moment thinking. Let's see. 35 years ago was when I was still in school, around 1980. Yes, it was a volcano we call Mount St. Helens. Your Mount St. Helens erupted and released 0.25 cubic kilometers of magma. Did it have much of an effect? I remember the news saying over 50 people were killed and a few hundred homes were destroyed. Keeping that in mind, the volcanoes in Yellowstone, there are several of them, are over 5,000 times more powerful. While Mount St. Helens erupted and released 0.25 cubic kilometers of magma, I have measured the magma chamber in Yellowstone, and it is currently about to release 2,538 cubic kilometers of magma and atmospheric ash. This will cause the massive extinction of not only us, but most, if not all, of Eden's life. I was stunned. At this point, I could only croak out one word. When? The face of Callias appeared appropriately grim. In about 2 months. Hey, fellow Galimarians, this is Dan Adrian, and I just wanted to say thank you for listening to my book. If you can, please click like down below, because it really helps me bring these videos to you and lets me know what you like. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe and click on the bell so that you'll get notified when I release more chapters. If you have any questions about this or any other of my books, or if you want to know more about what it takes to write a novel like this one, please make sure you leave your question in the comments below. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.